Okay, so in this next stretch, we're talking about the Sampson stretch. It's a staple stretch for everyone who feels like they have tight hip flexors. And what we tend to see is people will get into the lunge position and then just drive their hip forward for days and feel like they're stretching their hip. Now you may be stretching the hip flexors just a little bit, but you're also stretching a lot of other structures, especially that anterior capsule, which in a lot of people it doesn't necessarily need to be stretched. It's usually an irritated capsule. So in order to make that Sampson stretch just a little bit better, what we're going to do is we're going to teach our body to do a little bit of a posterior pelvic tilt. Now a lot of coaches will tell you to squeeze the butt, and that's a really good cue to teach you to do that posterior pelvic tilt, but just squeezing the butt doesn't always get enough of a posterior pelvic tilt to really get that hip flexor stretch that we're going for. So in order to do that, what it's going to look like is I'm going to come back a little bit off of my lunge, so I'm not into a stretched hip flexor just yet. I'm going to posteriorly pelvic tilt, thinking about tucking my butt down and under, and then I'm going to start to bring it forward. And you can already see I can't go nearly as far forward without feeling a bunch of tension than if I were to lose that and go into that anterior tilt, and then I can just stretch like that for days. So from the side it's going to look like this. Here's my normal stretch where I'm letting that butt come up, I'm going into that anterior pelvic tilt, and then I could just lunge into that position, and I'll feel a little bit of a stretch. But if I were to rock back and tuck that butt under and keep that butt squeezed the whole time in that posterior tilt, I'm not able to go nearly as far forward because I've already got that tissue on a stretch, and you're hitting a lot more of that hip flexor versus all the other tissues, especially that anterior hip capsule. So once again, it's posterior squeeze and then lunging forward just a little bit versus losing it and just dropping into that anterior hip capsule irritation.